Hello everyone and welcome back to the Belgian Beer Brothers channel. Cedric here in Antwerp, and we are gonna talk about another beer today. I was in the mood for a lovely stout, and I remember that this past year I got a gift from some friends of mine from the States, the lovely people Ruth and Mike Bourbon from Bon Beer Voyages, and I try to meet up with them every year when they visit Antwerp. And they were so kind to bring me this lovely bottle of Old Rasputin by North Coast Brewing Company. Again, this is a beer with a lot of history, with a story behind it. But unfortunately, for some reason, from Belgium, I can't reach the North Coast Brewing Co. website. I tried on several computers and in several browsers, so I had to piece together the history from Wikipedia and Brewerypedia and a whole myriad of newspaper articles that I found. So that does mean that I found some contradicting stories. Let's start at the beginning, the foundation of North Coast Brewery. Apparently, these guys were at the cradle of the American craft beer movement in 1988, and they were part of the class of 88, as they are called, which is an unofficial group of companies founded in 1988 that grew out to be industry standards in their respective fields. The whole story starts with Mark Ruderick, and I found two versions of this, one that he's a carpenter and a second that he's a biologist. Maybe both are true, I have no idea. He lived in the south of England for a while, and when he came back he missed the local beers, the European quality beers, as is often the case in stories like this. Remember the start of Boulevard Brewing Co. Had a similar story. Now, Mark gets to talking with friends, and he soon realized that if he wanted those beers, he had to find a way to import them or make them themselves, and they opted for option 2. After a while, they noticed that a brewery or a brew pub would be an addition to the community, so they started a brew pub in Fort Bragg on the Mendocino coast in California. And he started this with some friends. Now, here too I found several versions. I read that it was a two-man operation, but I also read that he started this brewing pub with Tom Allen, that's for sure, and Doug Moody, who is today still vice president, and Joe Rosenthal. So is it a two-man operation or 3 or 4? I don't know. All I know is that Doug Moody is still vice president. I didn't find anything about Joe Rosenthal, and I believe that Tom Allen left after several years. So Mark Ruderick has been brewmaster for 3 decades, and while being brewmaster and president, he actually led this brewery to over 110 awards, both national and international, before announcing his retirement in 2019. Now, don't worry, he still has a seat on the board, but he just retired as president. The brewery started out with a hoppy, is it a copper red ale or an amber ale, either way an amber beer, called Red Seal Ale, and I do believe that it's still in production today. Check out these guys' packaging. I absolutely love their branding, as well as their the Blue Star IPA. I think all their beers have a lovely branding. What was special at the time is that in '88, Red Seal Ale was brewed with a back then new hop variety called Centennial. Now these days I can't imagine brewing without Centennial, because many large breweries use it as a standard hop. But back then the fruity floral aroma of Centennial was completely new, and that drew the attention of a lot of critics and a lot of writers. So this beer took off like a rocket, and it's actually said to be the start of the hoppy IPA movement in California, which is quite ironic because actually North Coast Brewing Co. Didn't really hop on that trend of that IPA hype. They do make some IPAs, but they were always keen on having a wide variety of beers and a wide variety of styles. So they didn't go hop heavy or brew only IPAs. They always isolated what was special about a style and then tried to recreate that style in their own way, either with the malts or the hops or whatever. And they always stood for quality, which is to me a lovely characteristic for a brewery or for any production company for that matter. That first year they already produced 400 barrels, which is not a small amount for a tiny brew pub. Currently, after about 35 years, yeah, this is their 35th anniversary, by the way, they make over 70,000 barrels of about 17 beers and some specials, and they employ over 140 people, and that is in the brewery, in the tap room. They have a restaurant and bar. They even have a jazz venue, of which I forgot the name unfortunately, and they work with local farms for their raw materials. On top of that, they are a true zero waste platinum certified company, as well as a certified B Corporation. That means they have very high standards for environmental commitment and the treating of employees, community involvement. For example, they fund and aid in research of local marine mammals, almost said manimals there, and they work together with Fortunate Farms, so they have a farm to table commitment as well. They even produce high quality compost, which is used to breed the vegetables that they serve in the restaurant. So there is a closed loop zero waste idea, which is awesome, of course. But we haven't talked about the beer yet. I know this is a lot of info, and actually we could tell a lot more, but I will link in the description to a video of North Coast Brewing themselves where Mark Ruderick takes the word, but also I think, what's his name, Patrick, the current brewmaster, tells a story as well. And when he's talking, mind the background, they have a whole lot of wooden barrels where beer is aging in, and that's what this beer is all about. Because in 1995, North Coast Brewing Co. introduced a back then 9% Russian imperial stout named after Russian monk Grigory Rasputin. Like I said, he's a Russian monk, and he was advisor to the Tsar Nicholas II, and his Tsarina. He got a hand in a lot of political matters in Russia, and right-wing as well as left-wing opposers actually hated this guy because he had so much power. And they tried several assassination attempts. Unfortunately for them, Rasputin survived practically all of them. Well, except one, of course. The guy got stabbed, he got beaten, he got locked up, he got poisoned even, and none of that worked. So he was thought to be immortal. In the end, he got shot several times, and I believe the third shot was fatal, so he did die, but he got quite old, and we are talking about the late 1800s, early 1900s, so I believe he died in 1917 or somewhere around that time, when superstition and beliefs were at an all-time high. Now, I could make up something about the namesake of this beer, but I believe Hop Culture magazine asked Doug Moody where this name came from. And I will read you the answer because, of course, I didn't learn this by heart. But Doug Moody answered, North Coast Old Rasputin Russian Imperial Stout is produced in the tradition of the 18th century English brewers who supplied the court of Russia's Catherine the Great, who was the Tsarina. And the Old Rasputin brand image is a drawing of Rasputin with a phrase in Russian encircling it. The phrase apparently means, a sincere friend is not born instantly. At North Coast, we truly do value the qualities and loyalty, tradition, history, and giving a wink to our dedicated fans. Couldn't have said it better myself. Now, of course, in this image, we only see Rasputin, but on the 4-packs of the regular stout, and I will see if I can find the image somewhere, it indeed has the same image of Rasputin with the text encircling it. Now, like I said, this was a gift from my American friends, and I think I also got this sticker of El Paladin by Four Saints Brewery, which is silly, but they know that I'm a sucker for all beer collectibles. So again, thank you guys very, very much. I will link to them in the description as well. Now, the basic version of this beer won over 15 awards, and they have made several anniversary editions. Now, you can see that this is version 12, not to be mistaken with the 12th anniversary edition. That's another label. Also, another year. I believe that was 2007, 2009, somewhere around there. And this is the 2021 or 22 version. Unfortunately, they don't mention the year on the labels. But I got this in 2022, and I'm not sure if this is the production year 21 or 22. So, nonetheless, this one has been aged for 1 year in bourbon barrels and comes in at a whopping 11.3% ABV. And I'm very, very curious about it. They also make a version aged in rye whiskey barrels, I believe. This is the bourbon version. Now, usually I like the bourbon versions a bit more. So, Root Mike, great choice. Now, let's see how to open this. There we go. Aha, it's not a twisting cap. My mistake. Wow. I haven't even touched it and it's an explosion of aromas already. Just that first whiff is, whoa, it's like patisserie, as we say here. Yeah, it's sweet, it's boozy, heavy on the alcohol side. I do get a lot of, like a nice dessert. Caramelized dark sugar. I get some creme brulee in there. I get some vanilla, some coffee, of course, roasted coffee, but also some coconut, some chocolate. This actually already smells creamy and syrupy, so smells like it's gonna be, yeah, quite dense. Growing more curious by the minute. Yeah, look at that viscosity already. Now, that is dark. You couldn't shine a light through that for the life of me. Let's see if I can. That is dark. It's almost jet black. Yeah, nothing goes through there. Some nice dense foam, some tiny bubbles. I'm not used to having these tiny bubbles and this dense head of foam on a stout. It usually dissipates quite quickly, but this is quite nice. Also, this isn't even beige anymore. This is already brownish foam. Yeah, even more of the same. It's like a nice, it's like a hot cocoa with bourbon or rum even. Get some serious Irish coffee vibes here. This reminds me of Irish coffee and chocolate liqueur, so, or maybe even some Baileys, mainly because it's so heavy, so boozy. So yeah, let's have a taste. Let's dive right in, guys. Wow. It's actually not that heavy in the first taste. Also, it is thinner in the mouth than it looked while pouring, so the viscosity is not that high as I expected, although it does crawl down, so it is quite sugary. For an 11.3% beer, I wouldn't expect much sugar, but of course this is a Russian imperial stout, so it's not known to be dry, of course. I absolutely love it. It is way more balanced than I expected. Quite a lot of bourbon is still in there. It's not so much woody, but it's the bourbon itself that took place in the aroma palette. So absolutely lovely. Very sweet. Some vanilla there, that's probably from the wood. A nice full mouthfeel, even though the beer is thinner than I actually thought. And I still get some chocolate and some coconut in there. But still the roastiness and the coffee grounds are very, very present. So, like I said, a hugely well balanced beer, and this proves to me that Mark and Patrick absolutely know what they're doing, because this level of balance is very, very hard to achieve. It's very easy with these taste bombs, with these aroma rockets, to tip over to one side or another side, and having a Russian imperial stout with this, even a barrel aged Russian imperial stout, which adds a lot more aromas to the mix, it's very hard to balance that out in this manner. And now I know because I'd never tasted it before. But now I actually realize why this beer gets an A+ rating all over the internet. I am gonna cap it off because I'm not gonna drink this all in one sitting, of course. This is a 500 milliliter bottle. I'm glad that it's not the European standard of 75 centiliters, but 50 centiliters is also quite a lot with this alcohol content. Mind you, it is noon here, so it's a bit early to go all out. I also love how the aftertaste actually dissipates slowly but surely. So I still get some coconut, slight bit of coconut, mainly a lot of chocolate and coffee and a bit of bourbon, but it is more subtle. It's not like I'm drinking this beer right now and I'm gonna have it in there for the rest of the day. It's actually, yeah, like any other usual beer. It's absolutely lovely. So let's talk scoring. Again, I'm so happy that I got my hands on this bottle. Ruth, Mike, thank you so much for bringing this to me from the States. Yeah, very good choice. I absolutely love this, even though I'm not the biggest stout fan, but I absolutely love this. So let's give this a 8.5 to 9. Yeah. So I'm gonna decide in a minute whether this becomes a 4.25 or a 4.5 in Untapped, but it will be way up there with the favorites. So yeah, let's leave it at that. As usual, if you guys have any comments, anything to say, anything to ask me, or any remarks, if you have something you want to share, like your own opinion about this beer or your own experience with this, leave it down in the comments. And if you want to see more, hit the bell icon after you subscribe, of course. If you like this video, let me know, hit the thumbs up, and I will see you guys again on Wednesday with another beer. Cheers, you guys.